All right. So just to start, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Patrick Rabin. I am a retired NCIS agent, and I'm a stand-up comic in Bakersfield, California.
So I know you've made some jokes about your job. How long did you say you did that for?
I was in NCIS for 20 years, and I retired when I reached the maximum age.
Oh, damn, you maxed out.
I did, yeah.
So what do you think about the TV shows that are out right now with that same title?
Well, they're pretty good. I haven't watched it in a few years, but they actually when they started the TV series, they based some of it. The original episodes were based on actual NCIS cases, and some of the characters were based on some people that were in NCIS at the time. So they were real friendly with us. And in fact, I used to deploy to Iraq about like once a year every for 4 months I would deploy out to Iraq for NCIS to do like three and a half months of criminal investigations. And the series, the cast would send us episodes as Christmas presents. I was usually out there over Christmas, and they'd send us episodes that were tailored to us. They'd say, "All right, we haven't released this yet, but we want to show our appreciation to you guys." And they usually had a personal message. So, "Hi, Pat, this is McGee." I always got McGee, who's now still,
McGee.
I think he's still on it. But, I was always hoping for Ziva, but I got McGee, and McGee was always very nice to me.
Is that Bones?
No, he was when the series started, he was the probationary agent, the brand new agent, and he stayed in place. So now he's I guess the old experienced agent. But when he started, he was like the computer genius, kind of nerdy, not really experienced in the gritty aspects of fighting television crime. So
So how much of it is like not realistic?
almost all of it's not realistic. You know what they
The
were good at?
pace
They
or
get.
just the actual tools?
I mean, I've never shot anyone, and I can count on two hands. I guess I can count in 20 years how many times I'm like, well, better remember where my gun is. it's it's not like you go kicking down doors every day. I have had some exciting experiences, but most of what we do is there's a lot more paperwork, and there's a lot more. Oh, and we got to go. We got to take our mandatory bloodborne pathogen training, and we we've got to we've got to make sure we're compliant with government regulation XYZ about bringing home government vehicles, or all any sort of any sort of actual fun crime fighting was weighed down by a proportionate amount of paperwork and a disproportionate amount of paperwork and 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 little minutia that takes up 95% of your week. You know.
Are there really like supervillains, like people who like the government is like really trying to track down? They're like doing the like Hannibal type of like murders,
Well,
creative murders.
there are some,
What
yeah.
would you
And I
call them?
worked.
Serial killers? So yeah, right.
Now there are killers out there, and there are serial criminals. I worked mostly in sex assaults and crimes against children.
Damn.
So there are some really evil people out there, and that was what drove me is when I got to work finding them. And it's all on a spectrum too. Some of them you're with them and you got chills. And some of them, it's real deceptive. They are the most normal seeming people, even friendly seeming people, but then that's how they get away with it too.
When I was a social worker, there was a department that worked with like trafficked kids.
Yeah.
That was pretty sad.
Yeah.
They had a lot of rules too. That was pretty interesting. That they looked for like certain people to do it. Because I remember it came up. I had a client that was moved. They were gonna move her into that department. And then I was like asking questions, and they were like, "Yeah, we don't have men. We don't have men that do that. This
Right.
department." And I was just like, "Why?" They're like, "Oh, it's just they just says like best. What was it like best practice
Best
not to
practices.
have not to have men in the units." And so I kind of left it at that. And then it wasn't until maybe a conversation I had with someone who worked in that department, and they said like, "Yeah, because like." I'm sure there had to be like more attributes to the person or more these things about them that they were touching on, but apparently like for the men like there was a concern that by helping like traffic kids they would like end up trafficking kids and some shit. And I
Yeah.
was all like okay,
I
that's
got
pretty
that.
crazy.
Yeah. Sometimes that's the case, like in a lot of my cases, they would be like, Pat, when you go do this, when you go talk to this victim, maybe there should be a woman agent with you, or maybe the woman agent should be the lead.
You should have a podcast, bro. You get all the information you want. People, when it comes to like the serial killers and stuff, is that really like a higher up situation where like it's like the FBI that has to take over it or the CIA or
Well, they
I don't even know my departments.
yeah, I know, yes and no. I mean, serial
I
killers.
watch a couple I watch a lot of the murder shows
Yeah.
sometimes, and it's like what
I
the
mean,
heck?
I've worked homicides before, and I've worked unexplained deaths before. Many of them, but I can't think of a serial killer I worked. But you have to look at the Navy and the Marine Corps, which is who everything I investigated had to be of interest to the Navy and the Marine Corps, either a victim or a suspect or happened on a base or something like that. But when you think of who would be a serial killer, considering most of the military is in their early 20s, most of the time, most murders, there's a suspect pretty quickly. In my experience, most of the time,
Someone in general proximity to
you
them.
got a good idea. Even if it's a whodunit,
It's likely.
you can there's few that go years and years without they happen, but it's few that go years and years without being solved. And if they do, many times the person will be out of the service by that. So if there's somebody who's been a serial killer, been killing for years, they probably haven't been able to maintain a military career. But that's not the same when it comes to sex assaults per se. If you're used to getting away with it, that's a pretty difficult crime to prove. And if you're used to a certain method and a certain victim that you look for, and a lot of times your victims don't report the crime because it's got embarrassment associated with it and fear and career consequences, or at least perceived consequences, then there's a lot of people that I've investigated that if they were raping if they were suspected of rape, and you pull back the layers, there could be 3-4 other victims.
That is I mean, they have shown a lot of people that like unsolved murders. I've always tripped out that they even solve murders. Like, well, now with like the cameras, and it's like a little bit more like, okay, eventually they'll figure something out. But like without witnesses and just like random people dying, like I'm surprised like they don't murder more homeless people than they do, because they don't really make it seem like, oh man, there's like a lot of homeless people being murdered, but like
And how do you
Those are
know?
probably the people that are most vulnerable because like nobody's tracking them, nobody really knows much about them, and if they disappear, then like someone still has to find the body, and they're not hanging out in like normal places. They're hanging out on the outskirts,
So how do you know it doesn't happen more than?
and they just got like rules amongst the hobos for like getting rid of the bodies.
Yeah, how do you know it doesn't happen more than we realize?
I'm
Because I'll
sure it
tell you
does.
too. Sometimes things happen that don't seem suspicious, and you move on from it. I mean, that's something that's an illusion from television when you find a you find a circumstance, a situation, you find a dead body, and it looks like the body's decomposed, and it's hard to tell an exact cause of death, but it's in some place where at risk people like homeless people might live, and you know I mean, there'll be some initial looks into, you know, whether it was a murder, but there's a lot of the evidence, even with the advances we make, a lot of the evidence fades away, or an obvious looking suicide. Well, on television, you might see somebody say, "Oh, family says they would never kill themselves. I got a hunch about this one," and then they recover some little CSI piece of evidence that leads them to, an evil villain's lair or something like that. But in real life,
People off themselves quite often.
I, in real life, it would be possible to, it would be possible to make something look like a suicide. I'm not saying, I'm not advertising. Please don't go out and do that. But I'm saying, if you think that people aren't foolproof, in general, we're talking about murders here, and the stakes are high, and we're talking about human trafficking and sex assault. But I mean, is it possible to shoplift without getting caught? Well, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, the people that you catch them when they get a little greedy. You usually don't catch them the very first time. You don't catch them the second time, but you catch them when they get too comfortable, when they let their guard down.
Damn. So are you pretty sure you can get away with the murder? Like if you had to murder somebody?
No.
If you had to get rid of somebody, maybe not murder the person, but you had to take someone's life. You had to unalive someone.
Okay.
Like, do you think your odds of like your reaction in that situation can help you like avoid like being prosecuted?
I know a little bit. First of all, I've been retired a while, and I think much more about knock jokes than I do about murder anymore. But I do know certain things. Like, I think I might be more effective at getting rid of evidence or not leaving evidence than the average person. But I also know I have such a guilty conscience. You
just confess about it.
I confess about it. I tell my wife when I forgot to take out the trash. I mean, I can't let myself get away with anything. And it's probably why I went into law enforcement. One of the reasons.
Do you ever like look up? Is it possible to look up an old crime that wasn't solved, or is it that stay between the departments? Like it's not public stuff you can get.
Well, there's some public stuff. I know NCIS has like a public list of people to be on the lookout for, and I know some of the cases, and some of them involve people who committed a crime. We know they committed the crime, and then they leave the country. Change identities. Right? Yeah. But yeah, like,
how do you feel about these? Or have you come across these people who they're doing their own investigations, and then they confront these people, and then sometimes they slap them, sometimes they just uh, out them in public. I've heard that from the perspective of law enforcement, they don't like it because they can't use any of the stuff.
Right. I'd imagine there'd be a lot that they could not use. Also, you know, I've done a number of cases where you think you know the answer going in, and turns out you were wrong, or it turns out this is not your suspect, or there's some sort of extenuation or some sort of something you need to know, and you don't know until you do a thorough investigation. But the risk with people that you're describing is you got to ask who they're doing it for. You know, are they doing it for notoriety? Are they doing it to get likes? Are they doing it for a brand? Are they doing it for, to stay in the algorithm or whatever?
Yeah.
And so that's, to me, is just as criminal. I mean, well, it's not just as criminal. It's more criminal to actually offend against a child. If you're talking about the things where they set up people.
Yeah, well, some of them, I think they have like the chats that they have, and they confront them about the chats. But then I've heard other people that they it's just a mess that they bring up when they're like doing some of the things. I think there was a guy they talked about that he used his friend's kid's picture or something to like seduce a dude, and it was just like it put him in some legal issues as well, like using someone's real pictures.
Well, then he created child pornography himself, and would be.
I don't think there was any like nudes of the child, but it was like, hey, this is my profile was with the friend's daughter or something like that. But
Okay.
pretty wild stuff. And I've heard where the cops just said like, hey, yeah, even though you created this scenario, there's nothing we can use it in the court, like it'll get thrown out. So instead of just calling us and tell us about the conversation, you confronted them and you made all these like scenarios where now like we're gonna have issues.
Well, the confrontation part too. A lot of times, if somebody's ever going to confess, they're going to confess once. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And to do a proper interrogation, you got to know what you're trying to get out of a person. In other words, if you catch someone online and you say, gotcha, like to catch a predator. So there's a lot of those cases that went sideways. You know, I mean, it was entertaining television, but a lot of those cases end up with little or no justice value. And if you find someone and you corner them, or if you are a victim, either way, a lot of times an interrogator is going to get, or an interviewer, either you get it once, you get one shot, with some exceptions, but few exceptions. So if there's some, really driven knucklehead out there that it's like, aha, I got one. I'm going to meet him at Chuck E. Cheese's and take him down and film it, and then I'm going to put him all over the internet, and he'll be shamed, and I will be known as the avenging, angel. And the thing is, those kinds of interviews are going to be incomplete, because not only are you looking for someone to make admissions that has to meet the elements of the crime, and any crime anywhere is built up like of blocks, elements, and it varies from state to state and jurisdiction to jurisdiction, different between federal and state. So if I catch somebody with child pornography, I have to prove different things in a federal court than a state court. And the penalties would be different in a federal court than a state court. You may have to prove not just the possession, but, that they knew they possessed it and they intended to do something with it. And so if I catch someone and I say, let me see your phone, there it is, you're guilty. Maybe not, you know? Maybe not. Maybe they didn't know they had it. Maybe they were looking for thing A and they found thing B. Maybe, as sick as it is, maybe there's porn out there that the models are grown, but they make a great effort to look like they're underage, you know? Maybe it's not illegal what they have. Maybe it's just a picture of their friend's niece in there or something like that.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a fine line. I mean, even when I was in school, they had like we would talk about policies, and they talk about like what's considered pornography
Yeah.
and what is art, and like that gets pretty weird. And then I know, man, stuff pops up on the internet, and I don't even look into it, bro. Is this because there's just so much shit, and then the stuff that they say is also so wild that I don't want to know. But I've heard that there's always just this group of people always trying to push the line to, again, what is pornography, what is art, and then stepping on the lines of like age. This is fucking. There's just so many fucking humans out there, bro,
Yeah.
and with so many likes and dislikes, and how they deal with the ins and outs of life. That I mean, I think a lot of it's just not out in the public, right? Because, like you said, there's so much shame. So this probably doesn't get talked about much, and then we probably don't hear about it as much for the same reason that people really don't want to hear that there's like a lot of assaults going on, or that there's a lot of murders going on.
Right.
Because you would think like, oh, there's only been one in Kern County this year, or there was only 300 this year, but it's like that's every county. That's still a lot of murders.
It is.
And then you're talking what are not being considered murders because they're just considered a disappearance. It's considered whatever that they categorize it. That's not considered, someone whose life been taken and left.
Right.
That's pretty wild, man. I had a kind of a thought about it, but I kind of a little high and I forgot. But that's terrifying to know that there's people out there who, like I said, it's not frequent, but it is going on. People are dying. They've killed multiple people. The most famous local guy is that Jamie guy with the clown face. I tripped out when he was having the interview with the lady. That was the popular podcast that they did with him. He mentioned that he met a guy, and that when he met the guy, they both related on like that's what they did was like kill people. But the way it brought up, it was almost like a comic strip. It wasn't like they just like looked each other up on Facebook or something, or they came across each other and I don't know what that means. Like, did they just like start a conversation and they could tell that they had certain interests, and they just kind of led to the point where like, like almost like a secret society, two guys, and they're like ciphering out like if what they know about each other to like say, hey, you know what, man, I can tell that you can learn from me. And then it's just like, what is this, Hannibal? Like, what the fuck is going on?
Well, yeah, it is scary, and sometimes, well, you can see. I mean, we live so much differently than when I was growing up with the internet. I mean, it sounds cliche to say it, but like Chris Rock has a line that, before the internet, we just had to be satisfied with the fact that we don't know something. Now, if you're like, well, what's the capital of Bolivia? You don't have to walk around not knowing. You can find out in a moment. You got every library ever built in the palm of your hand. What's plastic made of? Okay, I can look that up. you know, my wife and I are watching the Super Bowl yesterday, and she's like, "Didn't that guy used to play for someone else?" And I'd be thinking about it, and she's like, "Yeah, he did." You know, oh, who was in that? Was that? You know, I'm asking, oh, wasn't that? Who's that? That's someone I know in the Bad Bunny show, and she's like, "That's Lady Gaga," you know, and I would just have to, you know, I don't have to sit around all night thinking, I wonder who that was. And I grew up in an information age, and you think about over history. And where I'm going with this is you talk about people being associated with each other. One of the things the internet does with crimes against children, like child pornography specifically, is it makes it seem normal. It makes it seem like you're in a community, because before the internet, there was the stereotype that, yeah, you know, there's the pedophile's the guy walking around in the park saying, "Hey, have you found my lost puppy? Can you help me find my puppy?" Mm-hmm. You know, wearing a raincoat, wearing mirrors on his shoes, you know, all the sick old, you know, stereotypes. But with the internet, you can go look for, you know, your porn search. You can look for certain terms, and if you're looking to get off of the regular sites and dig a little deeper, there's ways to do that. And what you find is just like the clown face guy you're talking about, you know, you find someone that's got the same interests as you. Maybe that was impossible to find, or next to impossible to find 30 years ago, even 20 years ago. And now, yeah, you know, it's empowering. Hey,
they got chat rooms. And
oh, I'm not so unusual. Yeah. Look at all these people on the dark web with me, you know. And it used to be that when I started, I mean, this is terrible. You'd see the same you'd see the same images showing up over and over again, because there wasn't as much going around. I see what
you're saying. They're sharing
and now people are like, okay, I'll give you, let's trade. I'll give you my stuff if you give me yours, and I already have all of that stuff you sent me. So can you get more? And so it builds itself, and it's why you got to be vigilant. It's like an arms race. It's a horrible race.
So seeing, having that job and seeing kind of some pretty messed up stuff, did religion play any part of it? Did it like bring you closer to God, away from God, or just made you like, hey man, the world is just crazy, and it
was my deal with God. Some people get into it because something horrible has happened to them, and I didn't have that. But when I got into NCIS, I had a young family, and I was trying for years. You know, after I was in the Navy, I wanted to get into law enforcement, and I was a corrections officer, but that was not where I wanted to finish. I mean, I loved being a corrections officer, but I wanted to do something more investigative, and I just remember praying to God, saying, if you let me get a job, if it's your will that I get a job where I can investigate, I will investigate crime. I will do my best to investigate crimes against children, crimes against the most vulnerable people. So that was sort of my service, you know.
Can you like spot someone and say like, hey, this guy's he looks weird, but I don't know why he's weird.
Sometimes there's two types in broad strokes. I don't want to go too deep into it, because I also don't want to, you know, for anyone listening out there that's considering, do I want to go into this? No, you don't. No, but, you know, I don't want to. There's two types of it's a cliche, but there's two types of people in the world. There's the ones that, yeah, you look at them and you're like, oh, there's something messed up about that dude. You know, you grew up with people who made all sorts of questionable sexual decisions, right? Or self-destructive in any number of ways. But if we're talking about sexuality here, people who didn't mind crossing boundaries, and I'm not talking about consensual, love-based relationships. I'm talking about people who are like,
Like people with no manners and shit.
people with no manners, people who
I've always had this thing about people. Not to interrupt, but like I've always not liked people without manners. I've always found them to kind of like we're just kind of maybe hitting at. It's like man, if they didn't get the respect to like not cough in their hand and shake your hand or something, or
yeah.
just do certain things where you're just like this was sketchy as fuck.
Well, that's part of it. You can pick a number of attributes, but there's situational and preferential people. Situational is, they'll go after anyone. They're the guys that it's put a roofie in a drink. They're the ones who, if they're in prison, they're pulling the weaker guys aside and taking advantage of them. They're the ones that at a party might be hitting on a guy's wife in front of them. They got no boundaries. You could say they have no manners. They talk to you about their porn search, and you're like, well, what, balloon porn? I didn't even know there was such.
I had a friend that was he would say crazy shit. We're like, what?
Yeah.
Just a bunch of nouns.
Yeah, stuff. Yeah, I mean, I kept having to re-educate myself on what the new terms were, but some. And when you arrest them and you do your search, you'll find all sorts of disturbing pornography, some of which may be child pornography. But then you find people who craft their lives around that or finding the victims themselves. And I'll also say people that have child pornography very, very often are producing, if not producing the child pornography, then they're at least also offending against children. It's not all just a mental exercise. But you'll find people who are like, okay, we think this person's well organized. They've got a taste for this age, this hair color, this eye color, wearing this kind of, clothes, or in this kind of circumstance. And so that's called a preferential. Somebody's got a preference, and then you won't find anything else, and they're laser focused on it. And so you'll also find, and that's as far as their tastes go, you'll also find lifestyles in which people, like I said, you'll meet the guy that's got no boundaries, and you know it. You know there's something off about him. But then you'll meet the person you trust the most, and he may be the one reporting the, I found problems on the internet at your workplace, and he's the one in charge of the internet at your workplace, and he knows how to hide his tracks. I should say he or she, usually it'll be somebody who's, if not that all sports coaches are offenders, but somebody who you've trusted your kid to them, your youth pastor or whatever it might be. 99.99 and more percent of them are the most wonderful people in the world. And there's people that count on that because they're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to get I'm gonna go to school for computer engineering. I'm gonna learn all the tricks of the trade. I'm gonna write my own code and programming, and I will figure out a way where as soon as I'm off of work, I'm at home in my happy place looking for something terrible. Or I want access to kids. I'm gonna be the most trusted person. I'm gonna find the most vulnerable kids, and I will be their savior. And people will hand their children to me, and it's way disturbing. And
That's crazy. That's crazy that it's like it seems so like so a lot of times when I was in school, I was studying public policy, so we'd learn about kind of like the boundaries of like robotics, drugs, pharmaceuticals, and
yeah,
just policies in general. But they seem so two dimensional at that time. But then when you start learning about AI, you start learning about some of the products that are out now where people can do just like everybody's just limited to their time that they're willing to put into something. Like if you really wanted to, you know, make your own drone to hurt people, you could do that. If you really wanted to make a little robot that, you know, does harm to people, you could do that.
yeah,
Um, and it just seems like if there's probably people out there who, if they sit and apply themselves, can come up with some pretty wild shit when it comes to one, the internet, which is like gathering data, um, and then also like you know you talk about like people producing it. Well, how are they producing it? If they're producing it on their own, then they're probably taking a lot of risk as well. But if they're like hacking into your nanny cams, your ring cameras, your things that you put there to feel secure, but they're really like another guy's paradise of like, look at this so vulnerable information that this person is just trusting to not get out.
yeah.
You know, just because they pay a $19 subscription to Amazon, they think their stuff is safe, but really like this whole has to go through a network, so I can bypass it at this point
Well,
anytime I want. Or
sure.
that's
Well,
that sucks.
it
Your
does.
phone, your own phone.
Yeah, like think about.
You're over here trying to take a shit, and
Yeah,
you're someone's like,
sure.
"Hey, man, this guy takes wild shits. Let me get his passcode." And you know every
Well, along those lines, you think of people who are, inventions. As soon as you invent something that does the world a lot of good, somebody's looking at a way to use it for a bad purpose. Cameras now, we have cameras that you can swallow or can be placed in your body, and they can find things that there was no way to find not that long ago. And now it's routine medicine, little tiny camera, pinhole camera. And you can also set those up in a bathroom, in a shower, and use them for evil. And that's the way of the world. I mean, we talk about the internet. Makes the internet makes information available that used to be something you had to go to a library for, and not everybody could get to a library. And sure, not everybody can get the internet, but a lot more people can, and it's only getting larger and larger. But in addition to the gifts that the internet brings, it also can be used to do some terrible, terrible things.
man, there's it's all of it. I think the line of work I had also like, or at least the study was like definitely people will just come up with stuff, man. And the sexual part is usually what is driving a lot of it. Like I know people talk about DVDs and VHS. You know, well, a lot of it was that pornography
Yeah,
migrated to DVDs, and then Blu-ray, and then when there was beta and VHS, like pornography was coming out on VHS and not on
yeah.
beta, and so like these things are pretty open as to why they went to the certain direction, and
So,
people, but at the same time people are so like, even though we think like, oh, people talk about sex all the time, like not as much as you think compared to what like really is going on.
Well, that's
Because
true. But I mean, but like the camera, some of the first pictures ever taken back in the 1800s were
naked chicks,
naked chicks.
you pay a nickel every go through town, every pay a nickel to look at it. Well,
I didn't realize you were that old. I'm,
not that old, but old enough
no, I
to
know, but
know about all that crazy.
it's
Well,
true.
the
But
the crazy part about the policy too was like the limitations of your own mind, because you could say like, oh, okay, well, is it even illegal? You know, because now it's like, okay, if someone makes a meta space room where like
excuse me.
everybody you interact is a minor, and it's just a bunch of dudes going in there or ladies going in there to like hang out with minors. It's creepy, it's weird, but is it against the law?
It's like I said, there's entire subgenres of porn, and I've caught them. I've had people confess to me that they're attracted to children, and you go through their pornography, and it's all, if it's a minor who's dressed in a very skimpy bathing suit, but in a bathing suit. Or it's somebody who we can research and find out that they were 18 years old when the photo was taken, but they're wearing pigtails and they've got a lollipop in their mouth and they're small for an adult, and they make their money off of looking younger than they are. That's not illegal. It's disturbing, but it's not illegal. It's legal to be disturbing.
Yeah. Well, now even like they're coming up with like the sex robots.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're making adult ones, but there's nothing to say that there won't be like a market, or even someone already
Somebody's,
producing.
I'm sure, I don't know this from experience, but I can promise you somebody's like,
Based on if you
it'd
can
be
think
great.
of it and it's not something you think of all the time, then someone who thinks about it all the time is doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And you said something earlier about like people taking such great risks to commit the crimes, and you're right. It's not strong of a compulsion. And you can understand it when you look at, like I was trained and I used to tell people that I worked with, if you stop thinking of child pornography, if you start thinking of child pornography as contraband, the same way narcotics are contraband, a lot of the crime makes more sense. In other words, and at least investigating it becomes more attainable. We're not too far from some big employers around here, like the hospital's not far away. There's some, I will bet you go to any place that employs a couple hundred people, somebody's going to work drunk today. Somebody's got alcohol in their system. Somebody's got some drugs on their person, even in a hospital. And I'm not casting aspersions on the hospital here, but numerically, it's going to happen. There's going to be somebody that's got a problem, and they risk getting caught, and they will end up getting caught. Maybe not today, but they're going to take greater and greater risks because the reward to them, the compulsion for them, doesn't diminish. I drove. I knew the speed limit when I drove here today, but I exceeded the speed limit because
Gangster.
that's the way I roll. I exceeded the speed limit because I figure it's worth the risk. I'm probably not going to get caught. I'll probably get where I'm going sooner. And I ignored the legal risk. I ignored the risk that I was driving arguably in a more dangerous fashion. But I rationalize it with myself, and I rationalize it every day. And we all have things we rationalize about, and criminals, there are people who commit crimes that if you can figure out how they're rationalizing it, you can solve the crime. Well, I wouldn't have hit my wife except I was having a really bad day. She knew it, and she just kept at me.
She was asking for it.
Yeah, I was minding my business, playing my. I can't tell you how many crimes I investigated. I was minding my business, playing my video game, and my wife came up and took the video game away. I
So
used
I
to think,
murdered her.
well, so I slapped her, whatever. And all of a sudden they're talking to me. They're talking to me, and you know, do I think their wife is an angel? No, but you can't do that. Then you talk to their wives, and sometimes it's the same thing. He wasn't listening to me, so I pushed him. So I took his video game, so I pushed him, and then he hit me harder. Neither one of you can do either of those things, and now I got to talk to both of you, and that's my job, and I was proud of my job. But, people rationalize. They rationalize. Well, I started drinking because I went through a divorce, whatever it is. Well, so how does that make it okay that you drank while you were at work, or while you were
just not wanting to take responsibility to excuses for not just saying, hey man, I getting fucked up.
If you think of the worst thing you've ever done, the thing don't tell me what it is, but think of the thing you're most ashamed of in your life.
Okay.
You're already, as soon as you're thinking of it, you're thinking, but on that day, this was happening. But on that day, I was vulnerable for this reason, or I'm not normally in that circumstance.
So it's someone's fault, but mine.
Well, even if you acknowledge your own fault in it, you're like, oh, I didn't know better yet, or oh, I wouldn't normally do that. And if you can, as an investigator, if you can find out all that information about what kind of day a person's having and how they normally act to things. Now, you talk about some OG criminals, they just don't care. Yeah. They just don't care. They just, I didn't do it. Well, I have film of you doing it. That's not me. Okay. Can you explain how you got on the film? Nope. Can you? Well,
and those are the guys that get away.
Those are the guys that are interrogating me as much as I'm interrogating them. We found drugs in your car, not my drugs. Well, it's your car, not my car. Well, you were in the car. I didn't do it. They want you to talk. The criminal wants you to talk. The suspect wants you to talk because they want to know what you got on them.
Yeah.
But they're never going to admit anything. Those are the hardest, You got to learn to, as an interrogator, you got to learn when to shut up too,
You're like, man, this guy knows his rights. Fuck.
Yeah, well, at least he knows what he's not going to do, which is be bothered by his conscience.
Yeah. Dry snitch or whatever they call it, telling himself. So all this made you funny.
I hope some of it did. I don't actually talk much about law enforcement not yet. People say I should. My comedy, I don't talk much about law enforcement. I got one or two bits that talk about law enforcement.
Yeah, I don't think you've told too many law enforcement jokes. A lot of your jokes are like, your famous ones are like banging people's moms.
Well, that's my wheelhouse. I'm an older.
I've actually taken that as an insult towards people. Sometimes I'll say that because I'm getting to that age where I'm not really like the age of the people around me anymore. I'm kind of older than the people around me.
Yeah.
And so I'll say like crazy shit where I'm like, I'll fuck his mom, man.
Yeah,
Keep that shit up. I'm gonna fuck his mom.
Well, I am lucky. I say this a lot in my routines. I'm lucky. My wife is so supportive of what I do. And my wife and I, this is my second marriage. And I had a rough marriage, my first marriage, really rough marriage. And now I'm happy every day. But my wife is the one that sort of talked me into going into comedy. And, I wish I was having as much fun in my you know, 30s as I am in my 60s, because life's good, you know. But I can joke about it, and she's good with the jokes, and you know, I haven't said anything that she's like, "Oh, you really offended me with that," you know. And I try not. I don't think I'm a filthy comic, but
Not too much. You do kind of sometimes say like maybe a dirty joke, but I wouldn't say you're like a filthy comic or
well, if you're
anything.
gonna be dirty, you need to be funny. Like there's people who will say things that are dirty just for the shock value, and then they can't bring it home with a punchline.
Do you
Uh,
look at them as like, oh, this guy got so weird fetish then? This guy's just saying weird
I
shit.
take it for granted that if you're a stand-up comic, I'm sure you do have a weird fetish somewhere.
Do you have like have you ever spotted a comic and go like, oh, this guy's he's into some type of porn?
I usually don't have to look hard; they say it.
Yeah, some
You
of
and
these
I know
guys.
the same comics. I'd say a good 20% of them do routines about their porn searches. You know,
That's true. This is have you ever seen a comic and go like, oh, this guy could be a serial killer?
I haven't. Although I do, I have a. You've met him, I'm sure. Mike Muratori's a comic who calls himself the serial killer of comedy. And so when I think of serial killers in comedy, he's kind of mentored me, which is weird to say I've been mentored by a serial killer, but that's he's and I think when I think of him, I don't think of kill in the stabbing kind of way. I think of kill as in you really got the crowd going. You killed, you know.
How long have you been doing comedy now?
It'll be 4 years this spring.
4 years.
Yeah.
And then are you going to be performing at the well? What's the what have they said like what's the deal there? Because I've seen that they're doing a couple shows
Yeah, yeah.
with the guys, but I'm not sure like when they're doing their open mics yet.
Well, there's the first open mic they put out today. The first open mic is going to be this Thursday.
Oh, okay.
And they're doing a lot of shows on Thursdays as well. So I'm sure sometimes the mic will get bumped. But right
Mm.
now, on many Thursdays, on available Thursdays, I understand they'll be doing the open mic. And I haven't been asked to perform at the Well yet, but I'm hoping it'll be soon. It's a nice place, and you know I go to Los Angeles a lot to perform, and I love doing that. But there's something nice about having. There's something really nice about performing in front of your friends and family here close at home, you know, and and with the comics that you've grown to love, you know.
Yeah, there's definitely a benefit to having a club in town. Just a matter of it becoming, you know, established and they got all their things in order so that they can have the dead time mics and then whatever shows they're gonna do and then whatever mics the guys want to do because I know I think it's the Dugans they've been canceling that one to do the shows at the well.
Yeah, and Dugan's was fun, but yeah, based on right now, the Dugan's mic was on Friday nights, but there's usually now that the Well is open, there's you know every Friday's got a comedy show scheduled, and so it's going to draw a lot of not only interested audience but interested comics to watch those shows.
What's usually your preparation for a show?
Preparation. Well, I've been trying to write.
Not the H, but the
Right,
preparation.
thanks. Oh, glad you cleared that up. I try to write. I promised my it's like a New Year's resolution. I want to write 2 hours a day, and I haven't quite gotten to where I'm reliably doing that. But I want to treat comedy more as a going concern than a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And so you know, I promised myself I'd wake up. I would, you know, 3-4 times a week. I'm going to go to the gym, and right from the gym, I'm going to go to the library or Starbucks or something and just write. And even if it's doesn't turn into jokes, it's you gotta. From what I've seen, it's the physical exercise of writing will get you there. And so I keep trying to build more material. I've been doing a lot of one-liners lately, but my wife says I need to work on stories, and she says better at that than I think I am. So it's probably why I married her. She's very nice to me that way. But so my preparation is I'll try to blend some new stuff I've got in with old sets, and I'll mix and I'll match, and I'll try to come up with something fresh. And I do some musical stuff, and that's been very popular. So I usually end with one of my raps, and I don't want to do that so much that it gets stale. But it's fun, and people seem to like it. And I shouldn't be. And the joke is, I shouldn't be able to rap. But it's about the writing. I didn't want to do a rap act. I didn't want to do a musical act unless it was going to. I didn't want it to come off like. I don't know if you growing up where you would have like on a sitcom, you'd have the goofy dad doing a rap to his kids about not doing drugs, and he'd use terms like "word up" or something like that. Hey kids, in order that we can relate to each other, I'll talk in your language, Word up, yo, let's break it down. And it sounds lame from the start. And I try to write something more creative than that. And so far it's been successful. But I don't want it to get too gimmicky. So I still write the other material as well. And I still try to have something fresh in my sets.
When you write a joke, are you usually putting it in your phone, or are you just memorizing it?
I pencil and paper.
Old school.
Yeah, I always bring something with me. And
is that from your NCIS days? Like you don't want to leave no evidence of your thoughts anywhere?
Oh, no. It's the physical. I'm an older guy. The physical act of writing something down helps me. Now, unfortunately, in the hours, when I'm going to bed, if I'm like almost off to sleep, sometimes that's the best jokes come to me. You're almost asleep. And then if the only thing next to me is my phone, I'll text myself a joke, And I'll wake my wife up and I'll tell her the joke. And usually she's like, let me sleep. But if she laughs, I got something,
Where do you perform when you go to LA? You said you go to LA sometimes?
I do a couple shows a month in LA. Oh, nice. I do a couple mics a month. I'm usually down once every week, sometimes every other week in Los Angeles.
Nice. Doing shows? You said doing shows? Nice.
Yeah. Like I was in Pasadena yesterday or Saturday. And I'm there about once a month at the Ice House. And I'll be at Flappers tonight in Burbank. I've been, I've had some great times going to the nice clubs. I mean, LA's got some of the most fantastic clubs, and we're so close to it. So it just makes a lot of sense to make the drive. And you get to meet different comics, different people,
Yeah, all the different serial killers that are out there.
It's true.
All the flavors. Is there statistically a type of job most offenders have? I guess I heard it was like doctor or something.
Well, when I was in the military, I mean, I can't speak to that other than as every other investigator would. I worked for NCIS, so most of my suspects were either sailors or Marines.
Oh, that's true, right? Did they have an occupation within the military? Like they were gunners, they were?
Yeah, no, it was went all across the gamut. Could have been anyone. Like I said, oftentimes it's people in a position of trust like the guy that runs the IT shop, or somebody that's, you know,
Feels
involved
they
in,
have an edge of not getting caught or something.
and frankly, sometimes they're right. You know, I mean, like I said, with shoplifter, you don't catch them the first time. You catch them when they let their guard down. And I investigated stuff other than this. Like I investigated narcotics and assaults and counterintelligence stuff. People, mishandling information and stuff like that. And, the military is so heavily young and so heavily male. Even though there's a lot more women in the military than there used to be, I don't think I can give you a good answer on what a random criminal would look like, because it would, in my experience, be almost invariably, a young male.
Is the females that are into like child porn, I guess, are they similar to the dudes or are they different?
I mean, statistically, there's a lot fewer of them, and they are, in my experience, they're different. There's even more boundaries that they've crossed, at least societally. We've got a picture of women as being protective of children more than we do of men, I mean, that may be a gross overstatement, but when I have had women as suspects, I think that they were looked upon very harshly. And they were also not suspected as easily. Oh, it can't be her. She's a mom. Can't be her. She's probably a victim herself. And maybe those things are true, but if everybody that was a victim of a crime became an offender, we'd have a lot larger pool of offenders. And the fact is, most people do not become criminals after having crime committed against them. It's an insult to them if you let that be an excuse for committing a crime.
So, like those teachers that end up sleeping with their boy students, they weren't just like I guess statistically or on average, whatever how you want to put it. Not all of them, obviously, but there's a good portion of them that they didn't just like one day come to work and then have an attraction of that one kid in class and then fell in love with him and blah blah blah, whatever they want to, their excuses, right, their their way that they frame it. They were probably like going on websites, they were probably doing other things that led up to like going for it.
Well, you remember when I told you that there's people that craft their profession around their criminal inclination? Okay. My bet, most of the teachers you ever had.
So she wasn't like she wasn't a caring teacher who lost her way. She was someone who was on this path to exploit the, hey, I'm a nice lady, to then do with all.
I'll bet that's more often the case. Somebody who thought, and maybe they end up getting to that place, but somebody who's like, I like being around kids. Between you and I, have always been attracted to kids. So I'm thinking, what can I do to be around them? I can teach them. What can I do to be around them? I can mentor this one here. There's one who's, maybe not got it really good at home. Maybe not got maybe a kind of an awkward kid.
Yeah.
I can handle this, And It doesn't mean that all teachers are that way, but my bet is that,
Just don't trust nobody, man.
well, you know what the best, in my experience,
Question everybody or something.
love your kids, take your care of your kids, you know.
Take the precaution to like look up people and
Yeah.
understand where you're leaving your kids at. And
Well, the kids that get victimized the kids that get victimized most frequently are the ones that might not have it good at home. The ones that have it, the ones that seem awkward, seem like they don't get supported at home, seem like maybe if they said something they wouldn't be believed.
yeah,
And so
that's like the new insult at school, huh? They would just be like, "Hey, fool, fucking cheer up, fool! Someone's gonna molest you, fool."
yeah. But you know, like I overdid it raising my kids. I think I would always be like, you can tell me anything, and if anyone tries to hurt you, this is what you do. Here's how you kick them in the man area, and you scream, and you run away, and all these things, and I drop them off places. I'm like, don't get abducted, And it's, I thought I was doing them a favor, and my kids are like, Dad, I was pretty intense growing up,
Constantly paranoid.
I was constantly paranoid. But, maybe I overdid it. But my kids also knew that if anything bothered them, if anyone bothered them, they could come to me. And yeah, I was in law enforcement, but they knew it didn't have to be about law enforcement. I always felt as a parent, like I was going through a divorce, and I had a lot of friends who were like, oh, it's cool. I see my kid every other weekend, and we go to cool places in the summer. And I think that's great, and I'm not against that, having, that fun relationship with your kids. But I wanted to be with my kids on their worst day too. I wanted my kids I wanted my kids to be with me when they didn't want to do their homework, or when someone was bothering them at school, or when they had a moral dilemma that they had to go through. I wanted to be with them on their worst day as well as their best day. And I wanted to know that they were okay with me on both of those days, their worst day and their best day.
You ever thought about writing books?
Well, I think comedy is my better vessel. It's how I got into the hobby. I was in a writers group, Writers of Kern, which was a nice group, but I wasn't getting a lot out of it. Nice people. We'd meet like once a month, and I thought that was my wife said I needed a hobby after retirement, and it just wasn't clicking for me. And then we were at Tembler, and my wife said, oh, look, there's an open mic comedy here. And so we went back when they had the open mic, and we sat in on it, and I'm watching guys go up, and I don't know, you remember the open mics at Tembler, and I thought I could probably do this, and I went up the next week and I gave it a try, and I got a laugh, and that was all it took. Since then, it's I got to get another laugh. It's been a great hobby. But that's my form of writing, is chunks, and humorous chunks.
Do you drink or try to, like, I know a lot of people after going to so many open mics they'll start drinking a little bit, but I don't think I've seen you drink.
I rarely drink. I'll drink, like, maybe I'll have a drink a month, like, to be social. Sometimes you go places where, if your host is pouring wine at Christmas, you let them pour the wine. I do anyway. I partied pretty hard when I was younger, but I don't enjoy the feeling of being intoxicated so much anymore.
I think I've been sexually harassed at like every job I've ever had. Is this something about me, or is it?
Oh, you're a very attractive man.
I've made that joke before because I've had people like bring it up, like usually after like a harassment training at a job, and they'll bring it up and they're like, oh,
If
does it
you
happen to like guys? Like I don't think it happened. And I'll be like, you'd be surprised. Like I've
you want the bad
by
news?
men and women.
Yeah, you want the bad news?
Hmm.
People pick their victims. They pick them based on whether they think they can get away with it.
I'm the guy that's not gonna say anything.
Yeah,
So I'll
that's
just be
right.
like, well, one because I don't think it'll get to the point where I need to say something. Like I don't think it's like I've never been like raped, but like I could see like someone hit on me and then I gotta like just hey, nah, stop.
Well, I don't want
But
to make
with the men, it's like I'm not interested.
I don't want to make too much a joke about it because I mean I'm serious though. If that's often happening to you, it's exactly because people think you're not going to tell, and people think if he tells, who's going to believe him?
Damn, I have questionable character.
Well, that's what they think. Now, that's up to you whether you're going to do something about it, you know? And it's not like it's always easy to do something about it, but if it's happening to you a lot, what do you got to lose? Just, well, I don't want to lose my job. Well, your job's got to kind of suck if you're always fighting off, some unwanted advance by somebody who might end up controlling your paycheck one day,
My last job, the dude started telling me that he was a cuck, and I was like, oh, okay, interesting. He goes, yeah, people are ashamed of their sexuality and they let people judge them, and I'm like kind of like just he's blind, so I just thought that was even funnier because I was like he likes to listen to dudes fuck his wife, like not even like watch. He listens to it, and then.
But he literally doesn't know what he's missing.
He doesn't know what he's missing at all.
I mean, maybe he thinks you sound interesting. I don't know. Oh yeah.
No, he asked me if
He'd like to hear that beard of yours. Yeah.
how did he was just talking about people being judged and then he just kind of like rambled into that he was he was talking about cucks, and it was kind of a weird subject to jump to, so I just assumed that he was talking about himself, and then when I asked him if he was talking about himself, he said yeah, and then I was just like, all right, and then we were eating with another guy, another tenant, and then I'm like, all right, well, I was like, whatever floats your boat, bro, and then I was like, but I'm good, I'm not into it, and then he asked the other guy, and that guy was like, yeah, same, I'm not into it, and then he just got up and left, and then he excused himself, said that, hey, I'll be right back, but he never came back.
And his wife came along.
And we were all embarrassed. He went to go tell his wife that we weren't going to do it. And then the next day he called me to his office and he went on his rant about like me working for him and not getting paid and that I had to be okay with that if he didn't pay me for a few months. And I was like, nah, that's not a thing. He goes, yeah, it is. And he's like, you know what? It's just not working out. And then he let me go. He laid me off. And I was just, the whole time I was like, what's this about? Like telling him I wasn't into like,
well,
wife.
Put it the other way. If you did what he was driving towards there, you think he would have laid you off?
I'm assuming no, and if he did, it's because I piped the fuck out of his wife. He was like, you piped it too good, bro. Like, fuck that shit. Get the fuck out of here.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted, motherfucker. You don't even know.
Yeah, no,
fuck bills. Fuck these bills.
Man, no, yeah. That's probably from the moment you were hired, he was looking for the right time to,
I'm too nice. You know what I've sometimes told myself too? That I find myself like in these predicaments with these like immoral characters. It's that because I carry myself for like kind of a nice way and like trying to just be kind of polite and not really
Open.
ruffle feathers with people.
Yeah, live and let live.
And I am a little open, and it's not really open that I'm like, oh, I want to talk about my feelings. It's just that I really don't. I don't have that much shame about stuff, and so like I'm like open to talk about like dumbass thoughts I've had and dumb things I've done. And so I think these individual people don't necessarily see me as like weak. I mean, you'll say different, but I think what they do is they don't like that I have moral character or a certain type of character where like even if I work for a sketchy person, they know that I have boundaries. I might be like I might work as a broker where like I'm, you know, misleading someone about who's really handling their moving company and all this
Yeah.
stuff. Like I work as a broker where I got to fib a little bit or I got to get someone to sign something. I don't mind too much like sales, but there's also the point where like if you're trying to tell me like take all the old lady's money, I'll be like, for what? What the fuck? Like nah, like that's not necessary. Like what's going on here? Or like leaving money out to see if I'll steal it or something. Like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna steal it. Why? Because it doesn't matter if I'm fucking starving. I just don't.
Did this guy leave out money to see if you'd steal it?
This guy, no, no.
Did someone that sexually harassed you do that? Because here's what was going to happen. If you stole that
Nah.
money, they'd have called you into the office.
Oh, and then you
listen,
leveraged it.
listen, what are we going to do about this? I trusted you and you let me down. But there is a way you can rebuild your trust.
Oh man.
How much do you think this is worth?
I'd go to jail every time. I would just go to jail. Because it's never gonna be a hot boss, right? It's never gonna be like this hot ass model lady. Because those don't need to like. Oh, okay, I didn't even think about that. Are most people who get in trouble for like sexual deviance like ugly?
Runs the gamut. No, and it's sad too. Like,
Because if they're good looking, well, I mean, what they're up to is like, what's the issue? Not really like.
but remember
being
too,
able to
my
attract
my
somebody.
my 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 vision of it's going to be skewed because I'm looking at people who are young and in really good shape usually, you know. So, and that's I'm looking at people who are probably the best looking they've ever been, you know. When I was investigating, but no, I can tell you that attractive and butt ugly people are
Weirdos.
yes. Weird is not about weird's not about
Desperation.
whether you're gonna. Yeah, that's true. It's not. You know, just like when you talk about the teachers going after the kids, there's a lot of very nice looking teachers going after very awkward looking 14-year-old boys. You know.
Yeah, there's definitely. And then I think about like the prison guard ladies. They be getting in trouble too, and it's like they're all being manipulated too, probably with the same methods of like making them feel a certain way or
Well, an inmate's got all day
stoking some
every
type of
day.
ego.
Yep. Inmates got all day every day to watch a corrections officer and think, what are their weaknesses? What are their strengths? What can I try to, you know, to get over on them? You know, I mean, I was a corrections officer for a period of time, and you know, you'd get all type. You'd get the real hard case guys, you know, and you'd get the real soft spoken guys. It'd be like, you know, I dropped my drink. Can I get another drink? You know, whatever it is when you're bringing them their food. And if you give them another drink, they'll be like, yeah, thanks for, you know, thanks. Now you know, they know, both of you know that you gave someone something extra, you know, and they can use that against you. They can get you in trouble with your superiors, or they can say, well, I told my buddy that you're not a hard case, you got a heart. And then Next thing you know, everybody expects something more from you, expects something compromising from you, and that's how they watch a prison guard and they say, oh, there's a female prison guard. I overheard her having a tense conversation, on her lunch break or whatever. I overheard this, or I watched the way she's walking today. She's mad about something. And they play on it, They got all day to think about it, and they don't have anything to lose if it doesn't go well. They're all ready.
So you've pretty much put me into a state of paranoia that maybe not all the time, but maybe sometimes there's someone trying to get in my anus.
Yeah. I mean, it's been...
And they could be across the parking lot, just now set eyes on me.
It's crossed my mind a time or two just sitting here talking with you.
Could be my boss,
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like the whole time, like all months of training, HR documents, certificates, all that, and it was all just like, I'm gonna rape this guy.
That's why you never...
It might not be this week. It might not be this quarter.
Right. Document it. And never go commando. You need an extra layer of protection in there.
Always. Does jiu-jitsu really work?
I don't know jiu-jitsu, but my son seems to think so. He's into all that stuff.
What would be some advice you'd have for some people out there in comedy and in, like, I guess, maybe better protecting themselves from people who might be watching them, I guess? Or just in general, what you would recommend? Both things.
Well, there's two very different things. In comedy, the hardest part of comedy to me is the writing. And it's the thing that people try to skip past. And I know a ton of people that don't know what they're going to say as they walk up to the stage. And they're like, today, I'm going to work on my crowd work muscle. Today, I'm just going to see what comes out. And they're fooling themselves into thinking that's the way to make yourself a better comic. You need to be able to think on your feet. That's true. But the value that you're going to bring is going to be by growing the amount of material that you have. And by that material improving over time and getting better and better. And I haven't found a substitute for writing to do that. So I think you have to be dedicated to the writing. And with the comics that I really appreciate and enjoy, the experienced comics, when I watch them talk about their process, it's all based on the discipline of writing. And the illusion is when you walk on stage, you make it appear that it just came to you. But all the great ones, almost without fail, they thought about it and they reworked it, and they sweat over saying happy or glad. The two words are different. Pony or small horse, So that's comedy. And how to protect yourself.
Yeah, because I remember this lady I was going to school with, Halloween came up and she was talking about going out with her kid. And everybody was like, yeah, we just let the kids out and we just let them go down the street. And she goes, oh no. She goes, I look up on like, watchdog.gov or something, and then she'll look at all the pedophiles and all the criminals in town that are registered. Yeah. And then she would make her routes through there. But then you learn when you get older that like some of that registry is outdated and some people haven't reported for some time. Some people haven't updated where they moved to.
Well, let me say two quick things about it then. There's no foolproof method.
Damn.
So if you're victimized or someone you love is victimized, this is tough, but you got to forgive yourself. You got to forgive yourself. You can work as hard as you can to protect yourself, and it's nothing is 100%. So if the best thing you can do about it after is have enough regard for yourself not to let yourself get taken down by it. Love yourself, recover, because otherwise you've been victimized initially and continually by that criminal. But the other thing is, the joke about like in the jungle, you don't have to be the fastest gazelle to escape the lion. You just have to be faster than the slowest gazelle. Well, in real life, that's true, but among humans, you got to not be the easiest target. So we were talking about kids. You want your kid to be, love your kid. Love your kid. You want them to be comfortable telling you uncomfortable things, comfortable telling you anything. You want your kid to have confidence. You want your kid to, your kids involved in extracurriculars. Man, go watch them. Go watch whatever it is they're into. Go watch their soccer game. Go watch them, their play, or even if it's something that you don't have much interest in, enjoy your kid enjoying themselves. There's common sense things too. Like if you go out with a group of friends, stay with a group of friends.
Don't be the fattest.
I fall short every time there, but yeah, don't be like, hey, I can't tell you how many cases I investigated where it's like, yeah, I really wanted to, I went out with my girlfriends and by the end of the night, I wanted to keep partying and they wanted to go home. Oh, okay. Cut your losses at a certain point. You get out of the bar, go home. Don't be, not knowing how you're, how you're not knowing who else you need to depend on to get someplace safe.
So what should I be doing that doesn't make me seem like someone who's not gonna tell? Like how do I come off as that fool's gonna tell? Don't grab his ass. He's gonna tell.
Well,
don't make him offers. He's gonna tell. 'Cause that's usually what I get offers to. I won't tell nobody. It's like,
say I will. I will. What made you think I'd be okay? Just be a strong response.
I usually just giggle. I just laugh. I just laugh and then I go like, "Are you crazy?" And I what I do is usually not to offend someone. Is like I pretend that I don't know what they meant. And I just change the subject.
Well, that's gracious of you. I mean, has this happened to you like dozens of times?
Almost every job I've had by several people, and it clients, coworkers, bosses, like So, and I would say as far as maybe even bringing up sex, but like frequently, like either like an offer or like some type of like inappropriate kind of touching or something.
Well,
not enough to like really care about it. I just noticed that it happens, and it happens like I guess frequently.
Well, then I guess you adjust your bar about where you care about it.
I've never had anybody take it to the point where like if I didn't like bring attention to like, hey, whoa, like that, they continued.
So,
and I think that's more my height than it is. Like,
you want them not to ask in the first place.
Yeah, I guess so, because it makes it weird, man. Because then especially after that, like they're like, it's like, oh, I can't work with this guy anymore.
I mean, that's a good question, because I have certain attributes where I've learned that like I say, I'm 61 years old now. People always consider me to be these traits. Some of them good, some of them I wish, some of them are not that good. I get people try to walk on me sometimes, and it's a similar thing to what you're saying, because I don't think I come across as a hard case. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I'm going to stop that. I think I've come to learn that this is my personality. There's things I'm not going to change about my personality. So the consequence of that is I'm going to have to keep dealing with people thinking they can get over on me. The strength I have is most of the time They don't get over on me. I catch them. I deal with it. And if it means I lose some friendships, they weren't my friend in the first place. Yeah, you're talking about you're probably gonna you got to be friendly with clients or you're gonna lose a client, right? You got to be you got to be sociable enough to work with, or else you're not going to get any jobs.
Yeah, I think I'm just like silly enough to where people kind of feel comfortable. They get too comfortable with me, and
Yeah,
then they have like whatever is going on in their head, and then they're like, "Oh, but he's friendly. He probably wouldn't like. He wouldn't tell. He would just probably tell me he's not
I'd say
interested."
face tattoos would work for you, I suppose.
Actually, oh shit, face tattoo. I wouldn't know what to get though. That's pretty permanent.
Well, I don't know. You could try getting like a henna tattoo or something like that on your cheek or something. Something nasty, you know.
I'll think of something.
Yeah.
I snitch. Something.
Or yeah, something put something racist up there. Yeah.
That might help. Yeah, a little swastika or something.
Yeah. I don't know. Of course, there's a consequence to that too.
Yeah. So everything. I guess I'd rather get sexually harassed than be called a racist.
Yeah.
Do you want to do like a final message, and then where can people find you?
Sure.
You can do it into this camera right there.
As far as a final message, I mean, if you like what you saw here today and you want to see more of it, is that what we're talking about?
Whatever. It could be a positive note. It could be most people just like stick to your dream.
We've had a good time and we've been joking around a lot. But we talked about some important issues and issues that I hope you understand we're being humorous with. It's not okay to be victimized. It's not okay to be hurt at work or at home. And if you find this happening to you, it's important that you tell somebody that you trust, and that if it doesn't work, you keep going until you find someone you can trust. And don't be afraid to call law enforcement if a crime has been committed. You deserve not to be a victim. How's that?
I think that covered our asses a little bit right there.
I did. I don't know if that's what you intended, but listen, I didn't expect this to be as much about my career as it was, but I had a great time talking about it. And it made me think about some things that were very important to me, and I appreciate it. And I've always, really enjoyed talking with you, and I've known you pretty much since day one I started doing comedy. I met you very early on in my endeavors, and I've always found you to be somebody that I just really enjoyed hanging with. You're funny, your humor is great. Your podcast is something I was very honored that you asked me to do.
Oh man, let's do it again too, man. Don't think that's just a one-time thing. It's a whenever thing.
Thanks.
For sure.
And
we could probably. I was really intrigued by that job that you had, but we definitely, over time, we'll talk about this stuff.
Okay. I'll try. You left me with some questions I don't think I gave you full answers on, but I'll be thinking about them some more. On social media, I think, I'm on Instagram at Pat Rabin Comedy, PATRABINCOMEDY, all one word. I have a YouTube channel that I'm trying to build up and do more creative things like you're doing.
That's what's up.
And hopefully by the next time we talk, I mean, it's in its infancy right now, but I'll be putting some more stuff on there that I hope you enjoy. But it'll be on Instagram. It'll be on Facebook. My wife says I should get on TikTok. I haven't done that yet. I probably should.
The Chinese don't own it no more.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, now it's some guy with a mustache.
I have a mustache. Is it me?
Nah.
Okay.
He's like a trillionaire with a mustache.
Damn. That close. But yeah, hopefully next time I'm on here, maybe I can get some feedback from you on what you think of my stuff. And
I love your comedy. I think you're so serious and then like you come off obviously like as an older person, an adult, you know, so you're kind of expecting like this very like wise uh style of jokes, but they're wise, and then that you layer them, and then
Oh,
you know, I don't expect you to start rapping, then you'll start rapping.
okay.
I don't expect you to start like digging into people's moms. Like it's just
We're
like
good. No, we're good. We're on the same page there. No, I didn't mean. I meant. You know, it's a big. I'm glad you like my comedy, and I love talking about this kind of thing. You know, colleague to colleague about comedy is very rewarding. I meant, in the social media realm, I am new
oh,
to it.
okay.
I'm underused it, and I could use. I could use. You know, your your educated view on whatever I've come up with by the next time we talk.
Oh, for sure. I myself, I'm starting to learn a little bit more about posting things. So they want you to post things pretty frequently.
Yeah.
Um, so you just got to find that thing that you don't mind doing often. I mean, I wouldn't get wrapped up in doing something that you don't want to do every day.
Right.
Um, so for me, it's just like posting something. So I'll start doing like short videos, and I'll start doing the long format. If you do anything, you can just find it on YouTube as far as like what they recommend, and then from there, um, I think just as long as you put quality into it,
Yeah.
people appreciate it. People start following you.
That's good.
I
That's great
myself need to do
advice.
the same thing. That's really my goal for the year is to build the marketing for the podcast for my comedy, because I haven't done comedy for a while. So I like been wanting to come back into it. So this year,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go all in with all the stuff, getting on shows, doing the podcast,
Well, yeah. The
doing
last
open
time I saw
mics.
you was at Ava's.
Yeah, and I think I just been going to like check out, see what everybody's up to, like how the scene is going. But I haven't been going up, and for the same thing, I just been kind of cold. I've been writing for people and not necessarily going up on my own. So it's like I feel like, oh, I used to do it, but I already know that if I go up there, I'm gonna be like, fuck, what was that joke? So I just need to get that over with. Just start going up and bite the bullet.
Yeah.
All right, so like I said, I'll go ahead and I'll send you a copy of everything, and then we'll